Somewhere in a government file room in 1972, a physicist named Hal Puthoff handed a man named Ingo Swann a pair of random numbers and a blank page and asked him to describe a place he'd never been, using nothing but his mind. What Swann put on that page made Puthoff, a laser physicist with no prior interest in parapsychology, pick up the phone and call the CIA. That phone call launched a 23-year government research and intelligence program. Millions of dollars, hundreds of trained viewers, operational use during the Cold War. That history is now declassified, and in Module 5 we're going straight into the middle of it. Remote viewing is the practice of perceiving information about a physical location, object, or event using no sensory means of access whatsoever. No photographs, no descriptions, no hints. In the most rigorous version of the practice, you receive a pair of random numbers and a blank page, and you begin. I know what that sounds like. I know the instinct to dismiss it. Here's what I'd ask you to hold on to as we go through this module. The dismissal is understandable, but it doesn't account for the data. The data is real, it's published, it's been peer-reviewed, and it produced results that were good enough to keep a skepticism-heavy government agency writing checks for 2 decades. That demands an honest look. From 1972 to 1995, the CIA and the Defense Intelligence Agency funded what eventually became known as the Stargate program. The research began at Stanford Research Institute under physicists Hal Puthoff and Russell Targ. It later moved to Science Applications International Corporation, where physicist Edwin May took over and tightened the methodology considerably. In 1995, Congress commissioned an independent review. They brought in statistician Jessica Utts from UC Davis and psychologist Ray Hyman, a well-known skeptic, and asked both to evaluate the same body of evidence. Here's where it gets interesting. Both agreed that the statistical results were real. Utts concluded that the evidence was strong enough that, in any other field of science, the phenomenon would be considered established. Hyman's objection wasn't that nothing was happening. His objection was about whether the controls were airtight enough to prove what was causing it. That's a very different argument than nothing here to see. And it's an important distinction to carry with you. The program was officially closed in 1995. More than 80,000 pages of documentation were declassified and released through the Freedom of Information Act. You can read them. The record is sitting right there in the CIA's online reading room. One of the most important things Ingo Swann contributed to this field wasn't just his own results, it was his insistence on turning remote viewing into a teachable, structured discipline. Coordinate remote viewing, CRV, is a 6-stage protocol. Each stage builds on the one before it, moving from the first raw impression all the way through dimensional data, emotional and aesthetic qualities, and finally a working sketch of the target. The protocol isn't magic. It's a structured method for quieting the analytical mind and giving the non-local signal room to come through. The biggest obstacle every new viewer runs into is something called analytical overlay, AOL. It's what happens when your rational mind intercepts a raw impression and immediately converts it into something familiar and recognizable. You get a flash of metal and curved lines, and your brain says, bridge, before you finished receiving the data. The protocol is specifically designed to catch that pattern before it contaminates the session. You're learning to report the signal before the analysis can overwrite it. And here's what the training data tells us about who can learn this. Most people can. This is not a gift that belongs to a rare few. The military viewers who produced the program's most significant results were selected for psychological stability, not for pre-existing psychic ability. Most of them had never had a psychic experience before training. In the expanded course guide for Module 5, we cover the full history of remote viewing research, from the Society for Psychical Research in 1882 through the post-Stargate civilian community that's still doing serious work today. We go through the 6 stages of the CRV protocol in precise procedural detail. We look at the phenomenology of remote viewing, what it feels like from the inside, including the moments where experienced viewers know they've locked onto something real. We examine 4 distinct remote viewing methodologies: coordinate remote viewing, extended remote viewing, associative remote viewing, and the Monroe Institute-derived ERV approach. And we cover the theoretical frameworks that attempt to explain how any of this works at all, including quantum non-locality, the signal line model, and James Spottiswood's findings on sidereal time correlation. And then you practice, a minimum of 6 sessions using the stage 1 through 3 CRV protocol with written documentation and post-feedback accuracy ratings. The practice component isn't supplemental, it is the module. I want to be direct with you about something before you begin this course. I'm not asking you to believe that remote viewing works. I'm asking you to do the protocol, keep honest records, and look at what you find. The practice is the answer to most of the questions you're going to ask about this. There is something about this practice that tends to stop people cold when it works. Not the dramatic hits, though those happen. What stops you is the small, specific detail you had no way of knowing. The texture of a surface, the emotional quality of a place, a shape you could not have guessed. That detail, sitting in your notes, verified by feedback. That is what makes remote viewing a genuine question about the nature of consciousness rather than a party trick or a superstition. Bring your skepticism. It will keep you honest. Bring your willingness to be wrong about what's possible. That will keep you open. The blank page is waiting. Let's see what shows up on it. The great work is here. The great work is now. And the great work is you.